I'm not going to play any music. Already a minute late. That last song was horrible. The one that's playing right now is okay, but you all can't hear it anymore. Hello. Let's get going. Hello, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. Oh, I did it again. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. And this is the ohmTown Daily News Show for September 21st, 2022. I've already selected a bunch of articles. Earlier today, we had a major incident. I was doing some upgrading to ohmTown's front page, the whole thing, and I guess I burned the building to the ground. I'm sure that's nothing. Don't worry about that. The dust has settled. I think everything is working again just fine. It was an impromptu change to the infrastructure, and I hadn't backed it up even. So, yeah. Back up your town if you're going to make a major change. Anyway, lost a few hours worth of aggregation. That's okay, though. I have some articles. I think some of the stuff is going to be interesting. Some of the stuff is kind of reaffirming what I have said in terms of what I've been predicting, although not amazingly ahead of really the news, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. I've been telling people, don't worry, the gas prices are just kind of masking what is really going to be happening. And sure enough, gas prices have gone up. Interest rate, again, 0.75 is what the Fed raised it. I had anticipating 1, but what I didn't anticipate was them coming out of the gate saying that they're going to raise it again by the end of the year. I figured that they would do this right at the end of the government fiscal year, and then just ride it out until next quarter, not this quarter, not the end of the year, but the fiscal quarter, next quarter, and raise it again in January. But they're going to do it again probably in November. They're going to raise the interest rate again. So I'm anticipating 0.25 to 0.5 is that's where I'm thinking they're going to do it. They're going to raise it to that level. So we'll see. But that's not what all of the news is about. Got a whole bunch of news, pretty much runs the gamut. Let's do this. The first article is in the Continuity Report. That is a channel about movies. Again, I hope to bring it to Twitch. And Beverly Hills Cop. I never thought that I would hear the return of the original cast members from Beverly Hills Cop is coming to Netflix in a sequel called Axel Foley. Eddie Murphy is reuniting with his original Beverly Hills Cop co-stars Judge Reinhold Ashton, John Ashton, Paul Reiser, and Bronson Pinchon. For the upcoming sequel, Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley. I had heard something way back, and I thought that it was put to bed, but apparently it really did exist. Netflix picked up the rights in 2019 to release the next Beverly Hills Cop movie, which is currently in production. Never thought that I would actually see it happen. I guess they're going to go and I don't know what they're going to do. Rebecca Rubin is the author of this article over at Variety. But Beverly Hills Cop was just an awesome movie back then in 84. 87, there was another one, Beverly Hills Cop 2. I don't think that I ever even bothered with Beverly Hills Cop 3. You can only squeeze the orange so many times before it basically dries out as explodes as a dried out husk. But hey, let me see if I just don't recall it. I'll have to go back and look. But for the forquel, what an ugly word. Producers opted to ditch the Roman numerals and instead name the film after Murphy's fish out of water character, a Detroit police officer who travels to Los Angeles to investigate crimes, because Detroit and Los Angeles are vastly different in terms of cities. Sure. Plot details for the Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley movie have been kept under wraps. Presumably, the story involves Axel Foley returning to 90210 to crack a new case. It's going to be funny if it doesn't even involve him. He's killed right at the beginning, and it's like his daughter that runs. And her name is also Axel Rose Foley. Anyway, we'll see. The first 3 Beverly Hills Cop movies were box office hits, earning more than $700 million globally and solidifying Murphy's presence as a movie star. And I don't remember the third one at all. So we'll see. It's going straight to Netflix, which is basically like going to movie theaters nowadays. You might as well just subscribe to Netflix, folks. As much as I dislike their checks and balances for people playing their trailers during their show, I got knocked once now I stopped playing Netflix stuff. So I guess they win. The terrorists have won. Anyway, let's move on to the next article. Reacher season 2 casts Sarandon Swan. Let me throw this into the chat. Ferdinand Kingsley, Rory Cochrane as series regulars. If you've never watched the first season of Reacher, this, I think, is the better embodiment of Reacher. Amazon Prime's Reacher added everybody that I said earlier, and the group is joined by guest star Dominic Lamberdozi, along with Luke Bialik, Dean McKenzie, Edson Morales, Andre Calantes, I guess, Shannon Cook-Choon, and Ty Victor Olson, Josh Blacker, and Al Sapienza. That's a lot of names to throw out there, but there you go. Brianna Bell is the author of this article over at Variety as well. That's one of my major sources for news when it comes to movies and whatnot. I think that the next season of Reacher is going to be just as good, if not better. I love the actual show. The personalities are great, and I think this Reacher is very well placed. So, based on the 11th novel and Lee Child's Jack Reacher series, Bad Luck and Trouble, season 2 of the military drama picks up as the members of Reacher's old military unit start turning up dead. Reacher, who is Alan Ritchson in the series, sets out on a plot for revenge as he hopes to get justice for his fallen friends. Hopes to get justice, his fallen friends. I think there's a 4 missing in there. Anyway, filming will begin this month. So this is probably going to be, well, I don't know how they're going to release it. So I really don't know when it's going to actually come to the screen. And it doesn't actually say here. It doesn't look like it. Anyway, if you want to learn more about this, then follow that link in the chat. The next part is, I'm hoping that this is the newest place for all of the Disney World and let's see. These are the happiest states in America, and there's like one, and it's actually not really a state. It's a little island somewhere. It's just that they keep on. It's a typo. I don't know. I haven't looked at this article to see actually who it is, where it is, what it is. But let's just click the link and go over to them. That way I can play catch up instead of me meandering through my show. It's over at the Hill. It's called Changing America. this was posted in the last 24 hours, like all of the news. Each day is the last 24 hours of news. It says personal finance website Wallet Hub compared to the 50 states across 30 key indicators of happiness, including rates of depression. Wow. How about rates of happiness? Income growth and the employment rate to determine which state is happiest. Just because you're employed doesn't make you happy. Some people hate their job. I guess that's the rate of depression. Anyway, Hawaii secured Wallet Hub's top spot, partly due to the state's ranking highest in the emotional and physical well-being category. Just because you vacation there, I don't know. That's an interesting take. So the article says that Hawaii is the happiest state in America, according to a new report, and it's from Wallet Hub. Let's see if they list any others. Maryland held the second spot, followed by Minnesota, Utah, and New Jersey. Those are really tough, man. Those are some cold states. Maryland just kind of dips down, or I guess reaches up into the cold, but it dips down into the warmth. So it actually has 4 true seasons. But wow, man, when it gets cold in Minnesota and New Jersey, it's cold. Utah too. I haven't spent much time in Utah, but Utah boasts the highest volunteer rate in the country. Well, that I can't even talk about it. Utah's divorce rate was approximately 1.7 times lower than that in Nevada, where divorce rate is the highest. Once the basic necessities of life are secured, food, shelter, safety, etc., the key to happiness appears to be strong social relationships with a few other people. Jim Allen, an associate professor of CUNY, Geneseo, I guess. I'm so sorry. That was probably really loud, and that's such a jerk move to cough into the mic. Geneseo, I guess it's called, told the site. These relationships can't be casual friendships. Instead, they must involve strong emotional bonds that are predictable, recurring, and intimate, said that same Jim Allen. And the bottom 5 positions consist of Alabama, Kentucky, Arkansas, Louisiana, and West Virginia. Can't imagine that. Let's move on to the next article. This is the segment. Did I throw that into the? Yeah, I did. So this is the segment that I called You're Dreaming, Buddy. And it's called Bitcoin Will Bounce Back to $65,000 within 4 years, says MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor. Yeah. All right. He added that it could rise to $500,000 per coin this decade. You know, and they say, that I'm not allowed to smoke because it's going to impair my ability as a professional. But this guy has been smoking some that has to have been $500,000 per coin. Give me a break. Anyway, let's just go over to the site. This is a MarketWatch article. Joseph Adinolfi is the author of this, and Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy Executive Chairman. This is, you can't see the graphic if you're looking at this in the podcast, but if you're watching this on the stream, this is Michael Saylor in a candid snapshot looking at the transcript of what he previously stated and saying, what the F? I said that? No. And then he walks away. I'm not going to play the video. Anyway, in the span of just 2 years, MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor has become one of the most polarizing figures in corporate America after transforming his middling software company into what he described as the de facto proxy for Bitcoin, as he used massive amounts of leverage to purchase roughly $4 billion in Bitcoin at an average price of more than $30,000 per coin. One moment. During a fit of gosh knows what, my antivirus was like going off all the time saying that Google was bad, evil. Um, and apparently that became a thing across the internets, but not before I decided to update everything and reboot and babysit and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I haven't looked to figure out what the actual problem is because the antivirus says that there wasn't anything, and my firewall did not go off saying, hey, there's some really crazy stuff coming into or out of your computer. That's a side note, and Bitcoin's at $18,302. So this guy, if he bought at $4 billion worth of Bitcoin at an average price of $30,000, well, he's down $12,000 right now. So I don't know if I would follow him into anything. Not a dark room, not a movie theater. I wouldn't follow him into a restaurant. Maybe it'll pick back up. Maybe it'll go above $30,000. But when you have $4 billion worth of Bitcoin floating around, you can pretty much say whatever you want. Again, I think that massive wealth leads to sociopathy. Let's move on to the next article. The Fed raised rates by another 0.75 percentage point and pledges more hikes to fight inflation. I had heard that it was going to be not just in articles, but through discussions with other people that it was going to be 0.75 percentage points. I kind of anticipated 1 point, but I think that would have kind of been the shot heard around the world economically for the United States. So I think this next November rate hike is going to be only 2.25. It softens the blow and lets people kind of ease out of some of their investments. It'll allow people to mitigate their losses. But us folk who aren't living off of nothing more than interest of our investments and are not independently wealthy, fully capable of just walking away from manipulating markets, but all of us, tourists to the economic sector, well, we're going to be hurting a little bit more as this percentage point turns into a much greater amount when it finally hits the retail side. Because the CPI actually stalled. I think there's manipulation in that. The producer price index stalled. I think there's manipulation in that. The producer price index and the CPI are really hobbled by fuel costs, and now they're starting to climb again. This is what I would refer to as a dead cat bounce in terms of economic processes, except that this is inverted for fuel. It's going to climb back up, and what everybody thought was going to be a decline is really softening the blow of the greed being kind of reaching into your pocket and pulling more money out. You'll be paying more at the pump soon. So yeah, that's the Federal Reserve raised benchmark interest rates by another 0.75% and indicated that it'll keep hiking well above the current level. The central bank had been looking to bring down inflation, which is running near its highest level since the early 1980s. I think we're at that point. And I think that we're going to continue towards 11%. We'll see if it hits it. Federal officials Fed officials signaled the intention to continuing to hike until the Fed level hits a terminal rate or end point of 4.6 in 2023. That implies a 0.25 point rate rise next year, but no decreases. And for them to say a 0.25 point raise in an entire year, I think for you to buy into that, you would have to be as medicated as Michael Saylor. Okay. So this article, by the way, was written by Jeff Cox over at CNBC. check something here. Okay. Got a few more articles. We're about halfway done for the day. Airplane, Naked Gun filmmakers, David Zucker and Pat Proft to exec produce Nordic noir spoof series called No Po Fo. David Zucker and Pat Proft, the veteran American filmmakers behind cult comedy franchises, including The Naked Gun and Airplane, are set to executive produce a Nordic noir comedy spoof series called No Po Fo, or called No Po Fo, not the. The anthology series is being produced by, I guess it's Icus's, or Icus's. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. A creative studio, a recently launched Finnish company, and BBC Studios Nordics has come on board as co-producer. Let's click the link. So this will be awesome. I'm not a fan of the name, but I don't know really what it means yet. Let's see if it says something here in the article. No, not so far. Billed as Nordic Noir meets Police Squad, the 10-part series follows 3 elite agents from the Nordic police force. Oh, the No Po Fo. Got it. All right. Who are tasked with solving the sort of murders that Nordic psychopaths do so well. All right. I'm not sure if that's a category of psychopath, but okay. I guess psychopaths kill in the cold. I don't know. Each half-hour episode is set in a different Nordic country and features a different cast of supporting characters, including a serial killer who only murders bad heavy rock bands and an Instagram obsessive who creates ice sculptures out of his victims. Okay, so yeah, everything's going to be having a cold angle on it. It was written by stand-up comedians and screenwriters Mika, Idovara and Rico Suakas. I hope I'm doing even remotely some type of respectable pronunciation. And screenwriter Hakai Sirja. That one, I'm sure the name is like Bob Smith, but I'm just ruining the name. Who was the screenwriter for Lakeside Murderers. So this will be pretty cool. I dig anything that is kind of silly slapstick humor like Airplane and Naked Gun. I miss that kind of movie. I don't really see it anymore. It's a real bummer. I mean, I've purchased several versions of Airplane. Like it's been released as a should I say a VCR? I've purchased it as laser. I've purchased it as a DVD and purchased it here on Apple iTunes. I mean, whenever it's around, I seem to buy it, I guess, because I dig it. But it's just fun and pulls you away from reality for a moment. Elsa Kesslessy is the author of this over at Variety. So let's move on to the next article. You can always read more about these articles just by following the links that are in the show notes. Although, the more I talk to people, people seem not to care about those show notes. Typically because it opens up on iTunes. It opens up in the podcast app as a little window within it. It's weird. Anyway, I'll move on. So the next article is in the Word in Tech, and I thought this was really interesting because it says Monarch Butterflies. My God, Monarch butterflies tagged with stickers in Chicago Garden as they migrate south. It's probably akin to those shopping cart police where they run up and they throw a sticker on a car because the person didn't move their cart into the corral. I wonder if it's kind of like that. Near the driving range in Chicago's Lakeview area, a faint but sweet smell floats in the air. One can follow it to a collection of beds where flowers sprout surrounding a community garden in which vegetables and herbs grow. By the way, I was shown and told that butterflies don't really care for like flowers and stuff. They're not really hip to that. they actually are pretty interested in um, decomp, is what I was told and shown, that butterflies dig that too. So kind of weird. Hopefully, I haven't ruined any of your childhood observations. Near the driving range in Lakeview area is where all of these butterflies are. So picture that instead of what I just said. Adriana Perez is the author of this over at phys.org. And it says a hummingbird and a goldfinch fly close to the flowers. And now monarch butterflies can be found all around, drinking nectar, fluttering from plant to plant, resting on the grass, as one butterfly does, in tiny little Adirondack chairs out in the field. They just rest. Millions of monarchs are passing through Chicago during the first few weeks of September as they make their way south toward Michoacan in Mexico. Now the Lakeview Community Garden at Diversey, I guess, is tagging super monarchs as they stop in Chicago as part of their migratory route. And super monarchs are quite different from earlier season monarchs, as they're in sexual diapause. They are not here procreating. They are simply nourishing themselves. And once they get to the orgy down in Mexico, that's when the party's gonna start. These super monarchs, which are non-reproductive in a non-reproductive state, are also physically larger. And now they're drinking nectar, Kells explains, as a person named Lorraine Kells. And Kells explains, powering up to make the 3,000-mile journey down to the trees in Michoacan. Judith Kohler exclaimed, I got one, as she brought a net over to Kells and Nancy Judah, both of whom are involved in the community garden. So I'm really curious. Okay, so they tag these things, and then the butterfly continues its migration. I want to know, nurtured by a taste of something fresh. She worked with native plants in Chicago and California for about 3 decades. That's Kells, apparently. They tagged 10 butterflies. They had a total of 25 tags to work with. But seeing that everyone takes this so readily, it isn't difficult to do. They take it so readily that they just have such a delight in doing it that we do want to order more tags next year and have a greater outreach to the community. That's right. You tag those butterflies. I'm trying to find what those particular butterflies end up doing. I mean, if they just fly down there and they're like, hey, we're here, where's the party? But they're not doing anything. I kind of missed it. Maybe. Almost anyone with access to a registered garden can provide a nectar space for migrating monarch butterflies or a monarch way station. Yeah, if you want to see butterflies out in your backyard. And it says, additionally, planting at least 10 milkweed plants or of 2 or more species. Kells recommends native species and plants that provide nectar is key to attract monarchs. We're thrilled. We're very excited. It's a wonder to see the joy in the face of an adult who has just discovered something and experienced something she has never felt before in her life. Why you have to say she? Why couldn't it have been anybody? Come on. This day and age. Let's move on. I'm actually just kidding. You can say whatever you want. The next article is over in the Smack Talk channel. YouTuber wrecks car to test iPhone 14 crash detection. This is the, hey, that's brilliant phase of ohmTown Daily News. It had to happen. People were joking about it, by the way. I was joking about it. Other people were joking about it online. You know, somebody was going to be derpy and go, hey, let's test the iPhone 14 crash detection. And it had to happen. A YouTube channel has filmed a full-size but remote-controlled car repeatedly being crashed in order to see if iPhone 14 crash detection works. And at least they weren't derpy enough to actually be in the car. William Gallagher over at AppleInsider.com did this article. It says, even Apple's own video about how crash detection works didn't actually damage any cars, but now the YouTube channel TechRax has done exactly that. Quote, time to test out the iPhone 14's new crash detection feature, says the video's billing. Does it actually work? This all just goes to show you that really to draw a lot of attention, you have to be a bus full of dumpster fire on fire, heading towards, I don't know, a nitroglycerin factory that's set inside a glass building. I don't know. But you can destroy at least a somewhat working vehicle just to test an iPhone, because that's what you need to do, apparently. Well, apparently it works in a curious delay before the iPhone reacts during the first successful crash, but then it repeatedly raced to turn off the call to emergency services in time. Yeah. You'd think, well, obviously you have to test it. No, you didn't have to test it. It was tested by Apple. Let's move on to the next article. I was interested in this because I am just perpetually interested in VR. I have a whole channel that I want to bring to ohmTown, well, to Twitch. High-end haptic VR glove company Haptics, or Haptics, raises $23 million investment. Haptics, which makes enterprise-focused haptic VR gloves, has announced the closure of a $23 million investment. The company says it'll use the cash to accelerate the rollout of its next-gen products. Let's move on to the actual article. It's over at Road to VR, and Ben Lang is the author. It says, Haptics has been enhancing and refining its enterprise-focused haptic VR gloves for several years now. In addition to force feedback, the company also touts its micro-pneumatic haptics, which push against your skin to mimic the feeling of an object pushing back when you grip it. Though bulky and expensive, Haptics has the most convincing haptic VR gloves that they've tried. Yeah. Really, there's just problems with the fact that you have the way that the technology works is you have to have these long, gangly little connectors. For some reason, they're really gangly. I mean, I don't know. It's like kind of blah, 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 blah. I don't know how to describe it other than that. On that momentum, Haptics recently announced it had raised $23 million following the debut of its DK2 gloves, and the company has seen considerable demand in the enterprise space for its wares. The next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel, and that is U.S. gas prices climbed for the first time in nearly 100 days and remain 15% higher than the year before, and those were higher than the year before that, and so on. The way that this works is I had said that gas prices were eventually going to stop. Now, I was even actually surprised that they dropped as fast as they did. But between yesterday and the day before, gas prices dropped about a penny, roughly. And it says, without getting into the minutiae, let's just go over to the article. Phil Rosen is the author of this over at Markets Insider, which is a segment of businessinsider.com. And the article says that U.S. gas prices rose to $3.68 per gallon on Wednesday from $3.67 on Tuesday, marking the first increase in 99 days, according to the AAA. And it signals that the impact of declining fuel costs on the recent easing in inflation may be dwindling. This is, I think, solely the reason why prices actually stalled and will now continue to climb. And I've been saying this for 9 months, that gas is the leading indicator of the inflationary trend. And what we're all going to witness is either shrinkflation, where the product gets smaller, but you pay the same or more, or it stays the same and or it shrinks. It really depends on the product, but the price is going to continue to climb up regardless. Gas prices skyrocketed to record highs in June, topping $5 per gallon. And the article goes into greater detail as usual, but I am expecting, that penny to a penny and a half increase every day, maybe every other day, because they don't want to really charge into this too hard. Um, they're going to blame Russia invading Ukraine now, with Russia ramping up, basically having a call to every single Russian Federation citizen who has gone through any military training, which it's compulsory. So I think everybody goes through at least 1 year. Don't hold me to that. I think I need to do a little bit of due diligence on that, who might escape that. But I think you have to have a medical reason or academic or subject matter expertise to escape compulsory military. But at any rate, they're probably going to be pulling 300,000 people into the front lines to do what I had predicted that Russia was going to do, which was solidify its hold on the eastern region. I thought that they were going to take more of Ukraine, but I think they're going to kind of flood people into the region on the East Coast so that they can get a better hold on Crimea. Now, electoral wise, I think they're going to flood it with a bunch of Russians, and then everybody's going to say, yeah, we want to be with Russia. But it's really by deposing the people of Ukraine that are in that region, pushing them out or killing them, and then having a free election. But we'll see. Yeah, it says a steady decline in prices that came as the Biden administration began releasing record amounts of crude oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We need to do that anyway. Petroleum ages and you need to purge it. So releasing more, I don't know how much that actually made a difference in the grand scheme of things, because prices continued to increase all the while there was releases from the Strategic Reserve. It wasn't until I don't know, even today, the reserves are lower than ever. But at any rate, we'll see what happens with the prices. I still think that they're going to continue to increase now that the bottom has been found. So we'll just continue on. This author used a Tesla autopilot for the first time and found it makes a long drive bearable as long as you remember what it can't do. I'm surprised that they could qualify anything as a long drive in Tesla. But this is in the Hatch Ideas channel. Let's go over to businessinsider.com, and Tim Levin took a drive of the Model Y SUV. It says it steers automatically to follow curves in the road and keeps pace with traffic. It would be a welcome tool on long and boring highway drives. So let's see something real quick, because I think it only what is its range? Sorry, 1 second. So I'm not sure why they say model or battery only, as if can be anything but anyway, it says it's 303 to 330 miles, but I don't know about that. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, it says 330. It has an EPA range of 330, which is actually pretty darn good. But I have to look more into this. I don't remember it ever having. Yeah. The standard range is 230. So you would have to spend more. Long range is $66,000. Yeah. So it's not an inexpensive car. So I guess a Tesla Model Y would be considered a luxury vehicle. Although they call it a compact sport utility vehicle, not necessarily a luxury vehicle either. At any rate, maybe with a bigger battery pack, you could get that 500-mile range. I just want to be able to get somewhere closer to the 400 range, and I don't want to have to spend 45 minutes, an hour, or 2 hours charging my car. So it says, needless to say, they were eager to test out the autopilot. Just don't have any toddlers nearby, apparently. So what is autopilot, and is it self-driving? We know what autopilot is. There's different levels of autopilot, which is what the author of this article starts talking about. And it says autopilot comes standard on all Teslas. Full self-driving, though, is, I think, a $12,000 add-on now. And then they go into what it's like to use. Let's see here. After depressing the right stalk twice, autopilot activated instantly almost every time. Some other systems that they've tried can take several seconds to lock in to the lane lines. So I guess they liked how fast it responded, but it says autopilot confidently kept the SUV centered in its lane without wavering or jitters. My car is really interesting. As I get closer to a line, it vibrates and pulls me back into the center of the lane, but it's not self-driving. It's not autopilot. I have a conventional vehicle, not an electric vehicle. So they say what their verdict is. The autopilot handles highways admirably and could get to be a great asset on long, monotonous road trips. They didn't experience any phantom braking error that Tesla owners have reported. Yeah. That's an ongoing trend, apparently. And that's actually it for today. I'm not going to soapbox a lot today. And I've already posted yesterday's podcast. So if you're interested in yesterday's show, go and check it out. It's over on YouTube right now. It's a VOD here on Twitch. And I'm going to bow out today. It's been a long day. So a long week in general. And I'll see you tomorrow, 6:00. I'll have a whole set of news ready to talk about. Maybe it'll be more interesting. Maybe not. I don't know. Come and check and argue with me about the news. Talk with me. Let me know your thoughts. Tell me what you think of the news. And I don't know. Maybe we can learn something new. Got to learn something new every day. It's kind of my motto. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, really?